Hello and welcome to Journeys and Journals. I'm Bernie Martin Beck and I get to follow history. This today is rattlesnake history. I don't like it, but I want to know the story. This is the rattlesnake farm, and the two women here are really, well, they were part of it. And I'd like you to meet them. You are?
JoAnn Fjarli.
And you are?
Leta Parmenter.
And in between the two ladies?
Brad Parmenter, her son.
Well, Brad, thank you so much for suggesting that I talk about the rattlesnake farm. What can you tell me?
Well, I have been telling children's stories at our church. And when I grew up with my mom and aunt, we would come down from Eugene. We lived in Eugene, and when I was a boy, we'd come down to Ashland, and my grandpa and grandma lived up on Ashland Mine Road. And I used to hear the stories about the snakes that grandpa used to raise and milk the venom, and being a young boy, one of the youngest grandchildren, who wouldn't be fascinated by a grandpa who raised snakes on a farm? It was cool. So as I was going through a list of ideas for children's stories, I thought this would be a great one. So I went up and talked to Aunt JoAnn, since she was the eldest of the sisters. Well, actually Aunt Berdina is the eldest, to gather some history and some pictures. And it went from there.
Okay, so you are telling me about 5 girls, right? And some live in Southern Oregon and some are clear up in Eugene for how many years?
40.
40 years. I heard about her because my friend was associated with the school, and raves just kept coming about this teacher. I'd not met your family, but my father knew your husband. In fact, he took pictures at your wedding.
He sure did. It's the only ones we have.
Is that right?
And there's also pictures of your parents' 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh. Oh, really?
Oh, really? It's a small world, isn't it?
It is.
And our sons met at the University of Oregon. Now, not you, but your older brother?
Raymond?
Raymond the artist.
Yes.
Okay. Well, now, I want to know about you girls. I see pictures of you here in the snake farm. Was this just part of everyday living for you?
Yes, it was.
I mean, you didn't see it as a big deal?
No.
Where was this snake farm?
Well, it was on the Highway 99, which was actually the main highway going to Medford from Grants Pass at the time. And it was where the Rogue River Bridge crosses over from 99 to go into Rogue River. Well, it was right at this right side of that if you're headed south to Medford.
There was a sign that said this very thing,
Yes.
Rattlesnake Farm. I got wind of this. There was a fee to go to the Rattlesnake Farm, right? That was your family business?
Right.
Yes.
What was the fee?
Oh my, I don't remember. Do you, JoAnn?
You're asking a question to ancient old people.
Well, I happen to know the fee was 5 cents if you were a kid, and 10 cents if you were a big kid, because I did my research.
Oh,
yes. Where did the snakes come from, and how did you happen to? I mean, you've got snake pictures here, snakes with Dad, but snakes with you girls?
Yeah. My dad, or our dad, had guys go with him, and one of the favorite places was to go up on Table Rock because it's rocky and there's a lot of Oregon timber rattlers up there. as well as what we call gopher snakes or bull snake. And then he also had a colorful little coral snake that had a cream-colored band and a kind of a coral color. What did I say that? Cream and coral and black, and it was not poisonous. So those were the ones that I liked to play with.
And you?
Yes, the same one, coral.
Let's see a little picture here of somebody who likes to act as if he's playing with snakes. What were you doing? Telling this children's story and making it sound all
Scary.
scary?
Yeah, get the kids involved.
A big box?
Oh, yeah. Well, I can remember growing up listening to storytellers, and whenever they bring a bag or a box out, and it was mysterious, you didn't know what was in it, it always made me excited to listen to the story and then guess what was in it. So I put together this box with Bratcher Farms, and purchased some real like snakes from the local toy store and put them down in there, and then took one of my grandpa's actual rattles and had a friend shake it in the back. So when I was about to reach in there and reveal what I had brought for the kids to see that day, they shook it in the back, and we had quite a reaction from some of the people in the church pews. I had told the kids that, I loved farms, and how many of you do you love farms and animals? And they said, oh yeah, we love farm animals. I said, well, my grandpa was a farmer too, and I brought one of his animals to show you. And that's when the idea came to pull them out of the box.
And to get this picture right now, we had to go onto the internet and get it, because it's on there right now. I think it's fantastic on the internet. Now, we're talking 19 and when? When did you folks come to Southern Oregon?
It was, I think, at the end of 1938.
I was just a few months old. And how did you happen to come to Southern Oregon?
Well, it's kind of a long journey because we were born in Kansas. My sisters and I were born in Kansas. And when the Depression came, because I was born in 1929, well then, it was in it was right during the main Depression. And my dad tried to get work, but work was very scarce in Kansas, and so he had some sisters in LA County, and they decided to move to Los Angeles. Then from Los Angeles to the town of Rogue River. So I don't know why the decisions were made, but it was a good move.
And there'd never been a snake farm in Rogue River until you guys arrived, huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or
Can
ever
you imagine
since.
applying for the farm today?
Oh, you mean
Getting a permit?
a permit and a
Yeah.
price of, and just this 5 cents for kids. Kids must have loved it. I mean, just like you guys loved it, and the storytelling. Now, the kids didn't yell at all when you told the story, did they? But the adults did.
The adults did. I had one of our church members come up afterwards and just said, next time you warn me if you're bringing something like that. She thought she was going to end it all right there.
Oh, the idea of these beautiful pictures that you've brought, let's just look at the little girls. Now, this is the two of you girls?
Yes, this is Marilita, and that's me.
Marilita, do you know where they found your name?
Well, my dad loved making up names, so
He did.
most of us have strange
Well,
names.
let's spin through the names.
Berdina,
Berdina.
JoAnn, Lenara, Marilita, and Thurza.
Thursday.
Thurza with a Z.
Well, how did you luck out with a name that everybody can spell?
I don't know. They gave it JoAnn, and so it was J-O capital A-N-N, and that's it. I don't have a middle name.
Okay, well, two
when,
first names.
when I applied for Social Security, they said you have to have a middle name. So I have B as Bratcher, you know.
B for Bratcher, yeah. Do you want to talk about this depression? How much of that do you remember, and the need?
Quite a little. When we were traveling, I remember some of that too, and I was just past four and a half actually. And my dad had cut off a car, like a big station wagon thing, and at the end of the cab, and so the back of it was all open, and that's where there was Mom's sewing machine and a bunch of other stuff, but that's where us girls had to ride. And then he was pulling a trailer, and so I remember that. And it was summertime, and got in a rainstorm, because Leta was 6 months old when they left Kansas. So she was lucky she got to be in the cab. But we got in a rainstorm, and it was just coming on us, and I remember crying and crying. Mom's sewing machine's getting wet, and we're getting wet, and there just wasn't a way to get out of that storm at all. And then I remember getting to my aunt, my dad's sisters, at Marshfield in LA County, and where there was an Air Force base there.
Oh.
They lived out there by that. And then going to stand in lines. I remember standing in lines to try to get food. And they had what they called WPA, and I would stand with my dad there trying to get work. So workman's something.
You're telling me times were really tough.
It was. It was.
And do you remember Mother's sewing machine surviving the rainstorm, or?
Not at all.
Obviously, you girls didn't melt.
No, we didn't.
What a way to come to Oregon. Or to California, did you have any trouble going through the quarantine station?
I don't know if it was even there.
Yeah, I understand it was like a gate that kept a lot of people out of California on purpose,
Oh,
or at least made it very difficult. They had to unload everything to make sure that they didn't have an orange height or whatever the quarantine was supposed to keep out, but they used it as a sort of a narrow gate to allow people through. I'm very interested. Times were tough, and you're remembering those tough times.
right.
What's it sound like to you, Brent? When you hear of where your family came from?
You know, I don't know. I've never lived in tough times, really, compared to what the stories they speak of. And when we look at today's times, when we've been having so much unrest in the country and jobs, people are unemployed, and we, start comparing today to those times, when I hear their stories, we're not even close to a depression type era compared to what they had.
Yeah.
So I don't relate to it, really.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever had holes in your shoes or...
Oh my, yes.
Cardboard.
Yeah, I can finish telling you from LA. Well, then my dad had another sister up here. She lived up Evans Creek
Yes.
in Rogue River, out of Rogue River, and so we came to Oregon. And then from after the snake farm here, and I don't know how they happened to go to Talent, but that was the best move they ever made, because we moved right next door to some Seventh-day Adventists, and that was the first I heard of them.
Now that's this place right here. It takes two pictures to show it.
Yes.
This is Talent, beautiful downtown Talent.
Well, it was out of Talent, probably about 2 miles, I think, and that's when we got so many holes in our shoes, because we had to walk. They didn't have a bus to go to Talent School.
And so how far would it be?
Well, I think it's close to 2 miles, morning and even afternoon.
Now, were you in school at that time?
Yes.
A little first grader?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. This building has I can almost read here, CO, and over here is T. What's this about?
That was converted from a filling station, we called them then. It was, or a service station where people would come and get gas, and it was the old pump things.
With the dome that would say how many gallons you bought. Oh, I love to.
So it was converted to be a house, or that was where we lived for many years. But go ahead.
Who are these people?
Well, it's our mom and two grandmothers, my dad's mom, and then my mother's mother, and all of us girls standing out there. And this is a little friend here.
Now, your mom's name?
Bessie Bratcher.
And Dad?
Lindsay Bratcher.
And this turned out to be the good place to live.
Yes, because on the other side of where the house was, there was a family named Goodhue, and I think his name was, I'm not sure what his first name was, but they were Seventh-day Adventists.
Yeah, well, I'm fascinated because we sort of, I don't know where I-5, I suppose it's only over here a little ways, isn't it?
To their house?
Yeah, from here
yes.
to, this is right downtown town.
No, it's out if you're headed to Ashland.
Oh.
Because that was the main highway at that time. No, it wasn't the main highway. I'm forgetting if it was or not.
Well, I know I talked to one lady who, she rode a bicycle or skates when they first paved 99. That was a long time ago. You've brought such wonderful pictures here. Is this your family, Merlita?
That's my family.
And which one? You must be the tiny one?
No, that's my youngest sister, Thurza.
Thurza, there you are.
And that's Berdina.
Okay.
That's my mom right there.
Aha. Well, the school you were talking about was Talent.
Mm-hmm.
And then where did you go to school?
Well, we went to Rogue River Academy.
Oh, that cracker box, they called it? Now that's a little history right up against the mountains. We want to know all about the snake farm. What do you think your dad was thinking about? Did he know there were just lots of snakes around here and people would, in that era, people stopped to go to the Trees of Mystery and the
House of Mystery.
House of Mystery and things like
Gold Hill,
Oh, yeah. And so he just had this idea? Did he like snakes before that?
Well, they dealt with them a lot in Texas when he was younger.
Oh,
So-
your dad came from Texas with snakes. Well, let's just take a look at the snakes you brought for us today. This doesn't look like the great big box you were talking about.
No.
But I'm so glad I saw this puzzle box and I was puzzled, literally puzzled by it. Ooh. And you have to tell me what all we got. What do we got here? Are these backbones?
Yes, it is. These are rattlers from rattlesnakes.
You just handle them so freely.
They're dead.
Aren't they poisonous when they're dead?
Not this end.
Oh. So this may I pick it up?
Sure.
It really is. I'll put it next to my microphone so everybody can hear it rattling. Now, why are some bigger and some littler?
Depending on the size of the snake. This is from a Texas diamondback.
Oh my goodness. Now, what have you brought here?
That's gall out of the snake that died. The Texas diamondbacks didn't like it here because it's really too cold for them. And so many of them died, and then I didn't like helping to do it, but I did, and boil off the meat, and the Indians from the Klamath would come over here wanting to get these, and they made ornamental things out of them.
Well, they're kind of cute. A little bit like a porcupine or something like that. And of course, there's a hole right in the center for the spinal column, or
Yeah,
what?
spinal cord.
Hey, you know all about this stuff. Brad, what's your work?
I'm a physical therapist
And that's where?
in Talent.
And I wonder how Talent got its name. That's an interesting name for a city.
This is poisonous.
Oh,
That's the venom crystallized.
I guess anything that dries up gets crystallized, doesn't it?
Well, that is.
It's kind of a pretty pinkish color. I don't suppose you can see that on color television or.
The Indians like to come over also from Klamath, and they would want the fangs out of the snakes that had died because there's a little bit of venom left in them.
What would they do with the venom?
When they got so old they thought they weren't going to live, they would, that was, what do you call it?
Euthanasia?
Euthanasia.
Oh,
Now, there
That-
are some in there,
Yeah.
so
Right.
be careful.
Here, those
Right
are,
in there.
right in here.
Yes.
those are fangs. They're like a hypodermic needle. They have a hole in the middle, and when the snake bites, well, the venom comes running out.
I wished I could tell you. They look like little tiny miniature bananas. I mean, they're arched, curved.
Yeah.
I thought fangs were just kind of like, like a sticker or a. Oh my goodness.
For poisonous snakes, they're like that.
What is it?
It's a part of a skin. They don't. After they eat so much, well, they shed their skins, and then after they shed their skin, they will get another rattle or another button on their rattle.
Oh, that's called a button?
Yeah, each separate part.
Now, when you kids are little, what was fun for you, Leta?
Swimming in the Rogue River.
Oh, yeah. But
But as far as the farm, I was just thinking a while ago, I remember going with Daddy to the train station to pick up the diamondbacks that he had imported. And I was so surprised to see that there were many little tiny baby rattlesnakes in there too.
They give birth.
oh,
They don't lay eggs, and the one had given birth on the way. There was
So-
probably 200 of them in there.
Shocking.
so he bought one snake, and the one snake became.
A lot of them.
What did you do with? I mean, excuse me, but what do you feed baby rattlesnakes?
You know, the rattlers have to kill what they're going to eat. It has to be alive.
So you girls got to hunt bugs?
Well, they don't pay much attention to bugs. It needs to be mice and that type of thing. And so my dad would go and pay kids, boys, to go and hunt mice for him, and he would pay them to come, and they would put them down in the pit, and the snakes would get them.
Now you got a picture of the snake pit here. Oh, we've heard that term, snake pit, snake pit. But usually it has to do with something else.
This was literal.
Just, do you remember it? Mm-hmm. What was it like?
It was like a hole down in the ground.
Bigger than this
with
table?
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Quite large.
And around the edge?
They had
was a
fenced
wall.
off
It was a wall.
walled off,
Cement wall.
so people could come and look down in and look
Down.
at
They
them.
couldn't climb out?
No, it was steep enough that they couldn't.
What's your wish? That you could just see a video of Grandpa?
Well, yeah, especially since I remember Grandpa. He was quite the hero in my life, and I just remember, hearing stories about him getting bitten and surviving it. And Aunt JoAnn used to tell us about that.
How so?
When they shed their skin, then that covers over their eyes as well. And he bent down too fast by a Texas Diamondback, and it got him in the hip. And he about died, with that incident. But they brought him through that. Then he was handling an Oregon rattler, and it got him right in the thumb. So yeah, that wasn't as bad, but he knew it.
No.
Yeah, your thumb gets this big. And
Imagine, his grandson at 12 years of age hearing this story and looking at your grandpa going, "You've survived rattlesnake bites? How cool is that?" So.
my grandpa.
Oh, my
yes.
grandpa, yeah.
That's my grandpa. I bet you were the only kid in school who had a snake handling grandpa.
Probably, I think so.
Well, you asked what we enjoyed doing. We didn't just have snakes. We had other animals that people enjoyed looking at. And we had big buzzard that they clipped the wing so it couldn't fly, but people could see it close. And armadillo and horny toads from Texas. And I can't think of anything else, but it was fun for people.
When my dad was up hunting rattlers on Table Rock, well, he came across this nest of buzzards, and he took one of them, and he brought it for us girls to play with. It was just downy white. It was so small, but it was summertime, and he didn't tell us what it would do. It was getting a little bit older, and we were barefooted, and it'd come and peck on our toes, and that was not fun. They have quite a beak.
Oh, I love your stories. I just love your stories, and I'm sure there's many, many more. But we're talking the Bratcher Rattlesnake Farm in beautiful Rogue River, Oregon, or what the other town?
Talent.
In Talent, Oregon. So it got around, moved around a little.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for being my guest, and I love your stories. Thanks again for introducing me to your mom and aunt.
You're welcome.
I'm Bernie Martin Beck, just saying thanks for tuning in.